What's going on, guys? It's your boy Scare Soldier back with another Borderlands 3 video, and in today's video we are going to be looking at our iRobot flak build, which is probably one of my favorite flak builds in the game. So let's go ahead and break this down. So starting off with the weapons, you're going to want to have three main weapons. You're not limited to, but my suggestions are these. So the Light Show, the Hellwalker, and also the Reflux. So the Light Show is going to be great overall. It's one of the best pistols in my opinion for damage and everything like that. But also what's good with this is when paired with head count, this allows you to get your action skill back extremely fast with this pistol. Also, while under 50% health, deal 150% bonus radiation damage is the anointment you're going to want to have on all of your weapons. Moving on to the shield, the only shield you're going to want to have on this build, in my opinion, is going to be the Madcap. Now, the Madcap has an insane amount of shield capacity, and also the recharge delay is super low at 2.6, and the recharge rate is very high. So kind of like a Sitarak with a recharge delay of little to none, but with the capacity of a huge stopgap. This thing is amazing. And not only that, we are going to be capitalizing on how much shield capacity we have with this whole build. Now, for the anointments on your shield, you're going to want to stick to something like action skill end, and that is going to be for both your shield and your grenade. For the grenade, you're going to want to have the Mitosis Hunter Seeker real quick, because this is just a super strong grenade that can kill enemies and even bosses very, very easily, and not to mention that you want action skill end on this as well. Moving on to the artifact, all you're going to want to have is an Atom Bomb Deathless. The Deathless is going to double your shield capacity, which is with the Madcap going to be nuts. And then of course you want Area of Effect. Area of Effect is going to increase the Aurora damage and Aurora burst and other splash damage elements of a build. And also the Aurora damage, all that means is essentially after you kill an enemy, that enemy is going to explode, basically a radiation explosion, and whatever enemy is nearby, they are all gonna die within a touch of that explosion. That is how strong the explosion is, which is why I recommend you have the Atom Bomb for mobbing especially. Now, the second role you're going to want to have is radiation damage. This paired with your 5150 anointment or URAD is going to be very powerful, because this is essentially going to be giving you 200% radiation damage all times. Now, I have a double roll on this. That's why I have 48% radiation damage, but you can also get, if you have a triple roll, one with 24% radiation damage instead with a third roll. But again, if you can get the 48% radiation damage, that is going to be giving you the strongest effect of this build. Now, moving on, you want three types of class mods for situations. So the first one, and the most important one, is the Cosmic Stalker. This one's going to increase your hunter skills power by 25%. So very, very nice, because we have a ton of hunter skills that are all very, very good with flak, and that is going to be that. For the rolls, you just want to have gun damage specific rolls. That's going to be the best bang for your buck. That's why you see I have shotgun damage, assault rifle damage, things like that are going to be very good, but make sure you have at least critical hit damage. That's the most important role to have. Now, the second and third class mod you want, first of all, is a Bounty Hunter. Just situationally for bosses, it's going to be better than the Cosmic Stalker in my opinion. And then finally, you want the new class mod that comes from the Arms Race, all because it gives you a point in the capstone. And the reason why we want that 1 point extra into the capstone, we're going to see in a second, but pretty much it's going to further increase your shield capacity with this. Moving on, we're going to talk about the skill tree real quick. So we're actually going to be breaking down the Trapper purple skill tree real quick for you guys. So first of all, we have Gotta Go Fast. This is going to increase our pet damage by 35% and also our pet movement speed by 40%. So that is quite a lot of bonuses with this perk over here. Success we don't need at all, because the Nova damage is, although strong, it's not very consistent, this perk in my opinion, and also it has a little cooldown, so it's not always active, and we already have that Aurora burst, so it's really not necessary for this build. But what is necessary is having this agility training, giving us extra reload speed of 40%, which is a lot. And also what that's going to do for us is going to allow us to be in the action a lot faster, and also just going to give us more damage per second. Moving on, the Throat Ripper, which is a really, really powerful hunter skill. This is going to increase the critical chance of our pet, and this is going to tie in with another skill, which is why I like the Cosmic Stalker, because the Cosmic Stalker is going to further enhance the critical chance of this perk for our pet. Now, lastly, we want the Combat Veterinarian, because this is going to give us lifesteal for our pet. This is going to be very nice to keeping him alive. And also this one right here, take this. Flak's pet gains a copy of Flak's shield, and you guys already know what our shield is, which is the Madcap, which has over 100,000 capacity. I'll put the 100,000 one right over here. So the 100,000 capacity, and that is what our pet is going to be toting around. That is going to make him pretty much unkillable. Now, we don't need the lethal force or better toys. Shield recharge rate, increasing that is not going to make a big difference, especially on a shield that already has a very, very low recharge delay, is diminishing returns at a certain point. And also we have means of getting our shield back with a certain perk pretty much called shield steal, so we don't really need that anymore. And this we don't plan on our loader bot ever dying, so we don't need to waste a point over here. Moving down the skill tree a little further, we got the woolly armor. This is going to be very effective, giving our pet damage a reduction of 75%. So literally we have 75% damage reduction on our pet as well, as long as we keep our shields full, which is very easy to do, especially when you use the snare. All nearby enemies are literally going to be distracted and not targeting you and all of that good stuff. And we also have shield steal with the fuzzy math, so we literally have full shields quite often, which is going to be giving our pet a good benefit of not dying. Now we also have Monkey Do, which is going to pair well with the Throat Ripper. The Throat Ripper is going to give our pet a chance to hit a critical hit, and with that being said, this is going to in turn allow Fl4k to have bonus critical hit damage off that shot, which you're going to know when it is in effect. When you have an amped shot out of your gun, then that is when that critical hit damage is applied. So a very, very powerful of 70% of your weapon damage. Very, very powerful perk, guys. Next we have the not even a challenge. We just put 1 point in here, not really important. You can actually put that point into fuzzy math if you want, but I found that 3 points into fuzzy math was all the shield steal you really needed, because every critical hit gives you 9% of max shields, and when you have weapons that have multiple pellets per shot, you're getting a lot of shield restoration with only 3 points into that, which was very, very nice. Lastly, here's the capstone, guys, that I was talking about. So this is going to give you essentially when you activate your action skill, which is why I love this with racks and why I suggest that you use racks and the snare for this build. But essentially this is giving you shield capacity of another 100%. And when you switch over to the class mod, if you are the type of player who likes to have a fat shield, then you switch over to this class mod over here. And if you guys look down below, it is going to give you 200% shield capacity just by activating your action skill. So yeah, you can imagine how insane that is, which is why I suggest it, because it can be fun to play around with a super, super heavy shield, guys. So if that's what you want, you can use that as well. Moving on, for the pet, we're using the loader bot, of course, and also for the augments that I suggest you guys use with the snare, I highly suggest you guys use the wide net. This is going to increase your trap radius by a ton, and also this is going to basically take up almost half the map or half the area that you're in, which is going to be super nice to take off a ton of aggro off of Fl4k. And then of course, blind with anger. This is going to be nice as well, because instead of knocking up enemies or stunning them, it's going to completely confuse them, which literally takes off all of the aggro off of Fl4k. Very, very powerful, and it's super, super nice. Now with the actual augments for your loader, you can use either the bull loader if you want a higher shield capacity, or you can use the war loader, which is the one I like because it gives you more fire rate, which means more DPS, and also it gives your loader an incinerate shotgun, so that's an element type, and elements do more damage than kinetic in this game typically, so definitely this is a little stronger in my opinion, but you can use either or depending on what you guys like. Now, this is my next topic here, which is the Persistent Hunter. The Persistent Hunter gives you, normally if you put 3 points in here, it's going to give you 12% gun damage and also bonus action skill duration. But honestly, you don't need that. First of all, Racks action skill duration has no interaction with the racks whatsoever, so that's already a waste in itself. And of course, 12% gun damage in the long run is not a lot of gun damage at all, so that doesn't really matter. And in terms of duration, when it comes to your snare, if you choose to use the snare already lasts 16 seconds, and if you guys haven't read already, the capstone of this purple tree only lasts 16 seconds as well. So if you guys are just using your snare, you want it to end in 16 seconds so that with head count you can get it back really quickly, and and you can reactivate this capstone as soon as possible to double your shield back. If you use the racks, you can maintain this all the time. That's not a problem, but that is why you don't want to increase the duration, because if you have a 24-second duration of your snare is still active, and you need to activate your action skill for the capstone to be activated. So if your action skill is still active, it's not going to help you get your capstone activated at all. So you want to activate your action skill as much as possible, and also you have action skill and anointment, so you want it to end at some point to give you those elemental damage bonuses as well. So that is why Persistent Hunter is no good, but we are getting 50% damage buff to our pet with Ferocity. We're also getting Frenzy, and also he bites. Then this is our last tree. We didn't put anything into the Stalker tree. It's not necessary. So with our Hunter tree, this is just going to be super nice and a cherry on top, essentially. So this is why we use the Cosmic Stalker, because it's going to enhance into a Planetary Stalker. And look at all those bonuses. It gives you damage, pet damage, robot bonus, human bonus, beast bonus. We also have Hunter's Eye, giving us more critical hit damage. Head count, giving us our action skill back very, very quickly with those light shows. Leave no trace to help the Hellwalker do some more damage and not consume ammo. And just to spam it, because it does have a low mag size, so this is nice and helpful, so you don't have to reload as often. Then we also have Big Game, giving our Hunter skills duration even more, and also more effectiveness to our Hunter skills. This is why I like the Cosmic Stalker, because it enhances all of these Hunter skills that you see, and a lot of the Hunter skills give us a ton of bonuses. Look at the Most Dangerous Game, for example, gives us gun damage, critical hit damage, handling. All of that stuff is enhanced when you use the Cosmic Stalker, which is why it is my go-to class mod for this build. We have 2 points in the Grim Harvest, 1 point in the Galactic Shadow, giving us more critical hit damage, and also Megavore, which is going to be important, because if we can hit critical hits, that is going to have a chain reaction with the purple tree, because when we hit critical hits, this allows us to get Fuzzy Mat to proc, and also it allows us to hit Monkey Do sometimes when it is active, and we can do more damage. So imagine if Monkey Do is active and we have a chance with Megavore to hit a non-critical spot as a critical spot. We're doing as much damage as possible, which is very, very nice. So again, if you were to use the racks, you can just switch over to the racks and use the Falconeer's Feast, and also the Rack Accelerator, giving you another skill charge, which is very nice and helpful, so you can spam racks if you want. And that is the skill tree, guys. So pretty much for the Mayhem level, we're using Mayhem level 10. You can use Mayhem level 11, but the loot is not as good in Mayhem 11, so that's why we stick to Mayhem 10. But that is the whole setup, guys. We are going to be jumping into some gameplay with the iRobot Flak build. Now let's get right into it. Okay, guys, so we're going to be breaking down this build to the best of our ability. So right here we have a group of enemies, and already we threw out the snare, and just look what's happening on this map. So first things first, look at the radius of that snare. It's insane. All the enemies in this area were targeted, and you saw that they didn't even attack us, and we got free kills. So this clip right here, we're going to be into a little more action, just to show it off. And look at the grenades, the Mitosis Hunter Seekers that I mentioned. Just look at the damage these things can do. I haven't even let off a shot yet, and just look at what these grenades can do. Very, very powerful, which is why I highly suggested that you go out and get these grenades with action skill, and of course to also help you get more damage. So again, same thing with the snare, throw it out. All the enemies will not be targeting us. You will know that they're not targeting you when you look on your mini map. All the enemies, instead of red icons, they will turn white. That means they are not against you anymore, which means you can go ahead and get the free kill. They also will attack each other, doing a lot of damage. Actually, it's a lot more than you think. Sometimes I saw a couple million damage between them with when they were fighting against each other, which was really, really funny. But overall, I love the snare. It's actually, in my opinion, more fun than the racks, because the snare is an insane amount of crowd control. So we're going to be moving on to a different version, which is actually going to be talking about with the racks. So look at our shield capacity in this clip, guys. We have around 438,000 capacity. That includes the class mod, the error one from the arms race that I was talking about, giving us another point in our capstone. That is with the 110,000 capacity madcap. And also overall, it is all paired with the augment, the bull loader, giving us another 20% shield capacity. So all of that together is allowing us to have 438,000 shield capacity, and look how easily it is maintained. All we have is 3 points into the shield steal perk in the purple tree, and it's super easy to maintain. We're pretty much virtually unkillable with this setup, and we're still outputting a ton of damage even though we're not using the cosmic stalker and we're not using the other augment of the loader. So you guys can see if that is your play style. If you guys are a type of player who likes to just run around with the biggest shield possible, this is going to be more of the setup for you. And with the racks, you can easily maintain this shield capacity. So you don't have to spam it. You have a duration of 16 seconds of that doubled shield capacity until the perk runs out, and you can just call in your racks and it will reset that cooldown of another 16 seconds. So every time you call in your racks, you will get another 16 seconds right back, so your 16 seconds will be maintained. And also by calling your racks, you're always getting your action skill and anointments active. So now we are in some real footage of the build. Now it's all said and done, you guys understand what this build is all about, and pretty much we are going into the Malian 1 takedown. Right away we call out our snare, distracting the enemies, and anytime an enemy steps into our huge bubble, they are automatically confused. You see that it keeps pulsing out some sort of ray, and every time that an enemy gets in and then the pulse goes off, the enemy will be confused, and essentially you will be all good to go, taking no aggro, which is something crazy because I used to use the Frozen Heart Shield a lot and also the stopgap with action skill start anointments, and the snare is literally like that but way higher of a caliber, which is why I think the snare is such a good action skill for crowd control and for overall just a player like Fl4k who doesn't have something like a barrier like Zane, who doesn't have health steal like Amara, Zane, and also now Moze. So this is literally such a great action skill for him, which is why I use the snare more. Now, the only time I wouldn't necessarily use the snare is for boss battles like against Grave Ward, because there's not many enemies. It's just you versus Grave Ward, essentially, for the amount of time that he's active anyways. So the snare is not going to be good for that situation at all because it will not turn the big bosses against each other. This is why I would switch to rack, so you can constantly call in your action skill and to do as much damage as possible. And also this is where I would switch to your bounty hunter if you want. It's not mandatory. You can keep your cosmic stalker on, but this is going to give you the most amount of damage possible. And right here in this little clip, you just see that our little guy, our loader bot, is doing some damage for us. So moving on to the next scene, we're on the bridge, and the bridge is where it gets hectic, guys. You know that there's a ton of enemies on this map, and look how much ground that snare covers. It's literally like half of the bridge is ours. Any enemy that steps into that huge puddle of snare is literally going to be confused, and all the aggro is going to be taken off of us, and this is where we can take advantage. So you're going to see this clip right over here, guys, very soon. Pay attention very soon to our action skill. So right now our action skill is on cooldown, and you see we're using the Hellwalker, which is a ×10, and our action skill took a while to come back. But you're going to see in another clip very soon that when we switch to our light show, how insanely fast we get our action skill back. So right here we recognize there's not many enemies in this area, so we're going to be moving the snare soon. But pretty much we're using the Hellwalker in this clip, and just look, you can see when my shots become amped, what happens. So now look, our snare is on cooldown, it has 0, and look at this. Even with the reflux, look how fast with head count we get the snare right back, which is exactly why we love head count with this setup and why you should have it with the reflux. With the light show, it is great. Now, also, because we are using the snare, it is good that we did not put any points into Persistent Hunter, because with the duration being only 16, it's actually good because eventually you want to move the snare around, and like you guys saw, when you pick up the snare, you can't just throw it in a different area. Once you pick it up, it's right back on cooldown. So if you need to move the snare around, it's actually better that it doesn't have like a 30-second duration. Now look at this clip right over here, guys. We went back a second because I just want to show you the control of how insane the snare is. So pretty much we just get to sit up here all pretty and look at the snare take effect. We have nothing to do. This guy's completely confused. We have no aggro, and we're sitting around with a huge shield. This is the power of the snare, guys, and why this build is so dominant. We can literally just stand around, do nothing, and pretty much our pet can do a lot of damage, we can do a lot of damage, and that's all. The enemies will do damage against each other, which is why this is such a dominant build. We maintain the amount of damage that Fl4k can output, which he's known for, with the survivability component, making Fl4k one of the best characters in the game, in my opinion. I will do a video on that when ranking the Vault Hunters in the future, but I just want to show you the dominance of this build and that you literally don't have to do anything. So pretty much we're just against Wotan now. We're finishing off the last bit of the kill, and you're gonna see how good the pet is as well. Look, we didn't even shoot Wotan. That was the pet just going to town on Wotan. And just look at this cool little final clip we got for you. We just did an attack command on the upper half of Wotan and we got the kill. But that's going to conclude the whole build for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you smash that like button. Go ahead and try out this iRobot flak build. It's one of my favorite flak builds in the game. So go ahead, try it out. Let me know what you thought about it. I'll catch you in the next one. It's your boy Scare Soldier signing out. Peace.